Welcome back to the No Horsing Around podcast. I am one half of your hosting. Zach Boyd Steven is out there just kind of, having a great weekend. Thought I'd hop on here and talk about Chris Ballard. Um, Interested to know your thoughts and where you're at with him. Is he on the hot seat? Is Chris Ballard, is this the year that Jim Irsay looks at him critically? Does he say, okay, we've given you plenty of leeway. We've let you run this team the way that you want to run this team. We need to see some real results. And I say yes. I say that Chris Ballard, especially if Chris Ballard doesn't do anything at the quarterback position, I think that his seat gets very, very warm. And he's basically putting all of his, chips in on Carson Wentz. I don't think that Chris Ballard wants to do that. With reports of, that Jim Irsay likes Russell Wilson. Guys, that's just so hard when you really want someone to come here. And we always want an upgrade like we do. I mean, no doubt about it. We would love to have an upgrade like that. But I just don't know at the end of the day if Russell Wilson would even entertain coming to Indianapolis. But I sure hope that he would. He would definitely align with our beliefs, our culture. Our city would embrace him, and he would be an amazing addition to our football team. So let's talk about Chris Ballard. Let's talk about, what has happened and what has led up to this decision at this point. I think his inability to be flexible in certain situations. I agree with a lot of things that Chris Ballard does. I think you have to draft really, really well, especially to retain your talent. So look, when you come over and you take a team over from the very beginning, you strip it of everything that's bad and you try to create this new culture, this new balance, and this new semblance of a football team. And that takes usually 2 or 3 years in the draft, depending on how well you hit, how lucky you are, and how well you're able to supplement in free agency. Then it turns into one of these situations once you actually have stars. You have Darius Leonard, you have Jonathan Taylor, you have DeForest Buckner. You've acquired all of these talents on this football team. Now you kind of revert. The draft is not really, your main source of how you, move that needle, how you become better. I think you move the needle by going out and getting a few stars that fit your thing. I've always been a big proponent of, hey, I know you can't just lock in on one guy because it takes two to tango. You got to have a guy who wants to come here, A, and B, you have to have the ability to negotiate and get that done. But if I were Chris Ballard, I would say, here's a group of guys, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many. We're walking away with one of these guys. We don't want to put the pressure on ourselves to say it has to be just this exact guy. But these guys are difference makers. These guys are who is going to move the needle and change our team and make us better. He's not been very good in the draft when it comes to picking pass rushers. I know we had Quiddy last year. Jury's still out. I think Quiddy's a fine football player, honestly. I think he's a solid player. I don't ever see Quiddy being a true blue number one, a guy who's going to be year in and year out double digits in the sack department, but solid. And he's a solid football player. If you make Quiddy your number 2, you probably got a pretty damn good number 1, to be honest. Cornerback, or as far as like cornerbacks, he's not really hit a lot on cornerbacks. I know Rock came around this year. Struggled to find really good wide receivers. He did hit on Pittman Jr. You got to give him credit for that. But he spent up for that. The real elite players, they're going to go pretty quick in the draft. Every once in a while you can find a diamond. I know he tried to get Paris Campbell. That injury thing has just not went well. But he's had opportunities to go out there and get upgrades at positions, and he's refused to do it. And then on top of that, he's had a couple different instances where he could have upgraded at the quarterback position. Last year I was team, let's draft someone. Let's start and let's get our guy. We don't have to move up that much, but let's give the resources up, to go get our guy. You probably would have gave the same resources, maybe a little bit more, to go up and get a Justin Fields or a Mac Jones last year, in a year that was quarterback rich. Well, now you give up draft assets. You're stuck with a quarterback who's not good. Your own words, not mine, in a press conference. Look, teams are not trading franchise quarterbacks that are elite. Well, that's true, but you went out and got one from another team. and expected him to be at a high level. That's not realistic. So now you've created this situation where your owner, your fan base, they all want you to figure out this quarterback position. And now there's just not a lot of resources, not a lot of options. Not a great year in the draft, although I do believe there's talent there. As we dive into the combine, I plan on trying to be there. I got my tickets already set up. So we'll see if we can get some live video footage for you guys there. He's in a bind. He's in a pickle. He knows he has to do something. I think for him, he does something because I think at the very least, at a minimum, it buys him another year. I really do. I think that he has not been willing to spend in free agency up until this point. I think that somewhat changes this year. Listen, one of the greatest traits to a general manager in the NFL is they have this strong belief and this staunch conviction in who they are and what they do in their philosophy. And they don't want to bend on that. They're not going to listen to that outside noise. And Chris Ballard has really not been willing to cave in for anybody. That being said, when you have this pressure from your owner, from your fan base, I think he does something. I don't know if it's going to be what we want him to do. I think he does go acquire a talent. I don't know if it's going to be at a position group like wide receiver, pass rush, left tackle. I don't know what he would go out there and do. I think he does something to say, look, I've done something. I've tried to upgrade and to make some sort of a compromise. For him to sit there and not do anything would be just absolute malpractice. To just sit there and say, you know what, we're going to run it back. We're going to draft our way out of this thing. We're not going to dig ourselves a hole. I think he loses his job. I don't think this time next year, I don't think you're talking about Chris Ballard, your general manager. I think you're talking about another general manager and maybe even Frank Reich not getting a chance to coach another year. We'll do that pod, at another time, but this is about Chris Ballard. So I'm interested to know your guys' thoughts, your feelings, your true feelings on Chris Ballard. A, how do you feel like how he's done in free agency, his philosophy? B, has he been a great drafter or has it just been overshadowed by a few really, really nice picks? I don't know. Will he change his philosophy? And D, is it going to be business as usual? Will he just say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to just roll with this is the way I'm going to build the team. I'm going to block out all the noise. I'm going to do what I got to do. And lastly, would he entertain drafting a quarterback in this year's draft? And if so, who? Put your favorite prospect. We're going to start scouting them at the combine. We're going to start doing some more footage there. Chris Ballard on the hot seat, put himself in this position to be opened up for scrutiny. Guys, it'll be interesting to see. This offseason's already been more active than any other offseason. Wanted to say a super big thank you for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. So glad that you guys have joined the No Horsing Around family. Use your voice, even if you don't agree with us. We had a guy on there last time. I think his name's Goat. He firmly disagreed with what we had to say. But you know what? I appreciate him. I appreciate his points. I appreciate his ideas, because this is your platform to use your voice to come on and get whatever's off your chest. Happy, sad, glad, it doesn't matter. Thank you for being a part of the family. Until next time, peace.